9 right now, more and more school districts are nailing down their plans for the upcoming school year, and many of them are deciding to go virtual. But some of you are asking, what happens to their funding? Caitlin Ross verifies if schools really lose federal funding if they choose virtual learning.
President Donald Trump has been adamant. He believes that schools should reopen for in-person learning in the fall. He was backed up by Education Secretary Betsy DeVos, who says anything less than in-person education is a failure.
The key is that kids have to get back to school, and we know there are going to be hot spots, and those need to be dealt with on a case-by-case basis. But the rule should be that kids go back to school this fall.
But here in Georgia, dozens of districts are opting not to go back to the classroom, at least for the first semester of classes. So could that decision impact their funding? We've heard from parents and teachers worried that schools could lose money by only offering virtual classes. So we went right to the source. I checked with the communications departments of Forsyth, Cherokee, and DeKalb counties, and they all told me no. Their funding will not change based on how many students are in front of a computer versus on campus. According to the U.S. Department of Education, federal funds for schools are appropriated through Congress, not the president or the Department of Education. So those funds could not be withheld. There is a proposal in Congress to tie stimulus money for struggling schools to reopen in person, but Democrats have called that plan a non-starter, and it would not be the general funding that schools depend on each year. So we can verify that the concern over schools losing funding for choosing virtual learning is false. But, and there is a but here, the Georgia Department of Education says if families decide to pull students out of the district and enroll them in an online learning academy for homeschool, the district would lose funding for that specific student.